What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockeytown University. You're here with me once again, Zack, and you're here again with my lovely co-host, one of them, Matt. What's up, buddy? Did you have a good Easter weekend?
I did have a good Easter weekend. Had a really nice time celebrating Easter with the family. We had some beef tenderloin, and that was absolutely delicious. Pretty much didn't do a whole lot besides watching golf all weekend, so that was very cool. Congratulations to Jon Rahm on winning the Masters. Hell of a performance. It was kind of funny how it shook out. Like, 3 guys in the top 10 was all live golfers, and then Jon Rahm is PGA, and he beats all of them. So that's nice to see. Other than that, didn't do a whole lot. It's been nice weather here, so we had some time outside to listen to all the chirping birds and feel the nice warm sunshine on my face. So that was very nice to see. And yeah, that's about all I have on my end. I'll throw it back over to you.
I do not know any of those players you named off. I am not a big golf guy. I actually suck at golf. When I go and drive, I always made sure Derek was on my team whenever we did pairs because he was the one who could drive, and I was the putter guy. I could long putt. That's about it. From all the miniature golf that I did as a kid, it finally pays off. So
you're just like me. Just like me.
It's bad, yeah. But yeah, my weekend was good. We had the in-laws over on Saturday. All of our families are very spread apart, so Sunday, we kind of just stayed at home and just did the essentials that we needed to do and get ready for the week. So it was a nice, chill, relaxing weekend. Same thing. We sat outside, got some grub. Got to play with the doggos. So my dogs got to see their cousin doggo. So it worked out for everyone. It was a great time. So no complaints over here. Good weekend.
Nice dog family.
Good dog family.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's go ahead and start things off with some Red Wings news. And then down the line, we will get into some around the league news. We will touch on the Red Wings versus the Buffalo Sabres game that was on Thursday. I have that written down. I don't know why I thought that was on Friday, but that was on Thursday. Yep. Thank you, Leslie, for the confirmation on that. I appreciate it. And then the Red Wings versus the Pittsburgh Penguins game that was on Saturday. We'll break those down and what our overall assessment was on that. We'll then go into a quick standings update for the Detroit Red Wings, what's upcoming for them with only a couple of games left into the season, and then we'll close out with our final thoughts. So let's go ahead and kick right off with the Red Wings news. Like I said, let's just go ahead. It's kind of all over the place since we haven't recorded since last Wednesday. So in between the 5 days, all my notes kind of become staggered. So I'll go ahead and start off with some news that came up today. Taro Hirose gets called up from the Grand Rapids Griffins and replaces Adam Erne due to a sickness. Excuse me. Sounds like he's only going to be out for the day, according to Lalonde. Lucas Raymond, I believe it was against the Pittsburgh Penguins game, and I could be wrong, but he did clinch over 100 points for career and is the 3rd youngest player in Red Wings history to reach that mark, and he is behind none other than general manager Steve Yzerman and the RIP Mr. Gordie Howe. Another news, Thursday's morning skate, Lalonde was asked about his connections with Denver and how he was able to keep a close insight on Mazur all year long and what to expect out of him when he does make the jump to the NHL or just in training camp in general. Apparently, he spoke with Ben Simon, the Grand Rapids Griffin coach, and says Mazur is already or has great habits with pro details illustrated in those. Didn't say we would see him next season, but said how smart he was and that we will see him in the NHL someday. I had to throw that part in there with a ... But for those of you that are not following along with the Grand Rapids Griffins or Mazur in general, Mazur currently has 5 points in his last 5 games with the Griffins, and it's only been 5 games. So, Leslie, how do you feel about Mazur being a point per game with the Griffins so far?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think it was second to last game that he played. He had 2 goals and an assist, so it's really nice to see him start to turn on a little bit. And in one of those games, too, he also had a really nice tip-in goal in front of the net. So maybe if we see him one day in the NHL, he could be like that kind of net front presence that Detroit has really been lacking ever since. God, who was even the last guy who was doing that? Like, I couldn't even think of him.
Alex Chason.
Well, yeah, I guess he could be a good Chason replacement if we decide not to re-sign him, or just after if we re-sign him next year, and he may make his debut the season after that. But yeah, he looks pretty good down there. There's a lot of tools there that would indicate that he could be a really nice NHL player in the future. I think it's just going to take at least a season under his belt in Grand Rapids to kind of build that confidence, and hopefully he gets a better team to play for next year, because Grand Rapids really has been a mess this year. So I really hope that he can get in some competitive games. Maybe they'll make the playoff push. They stay and have a really good team next year with all our prospects coming over. So yeah, I would really hope for him to have a very strong year next year, and if he keeps doing all the right things, you'll see him in Detroit one day.
All jokes aside, I'm sorry, Leslie, I had to throw the Alex Chiasson thing out there. To answer your question, though, yeah, I started thinking about that. I think the last real good net front presence, Franzen?
I would have said Holmstrom too, but yeah, Franzen is a good one. It's been a while, is our point. So,
no,
it's been a long time.
No, and that's why I stumbled when I even said Franzen. I was like, I don't even remember if that's even correct, but I do remember that's what the Red Wings were trying to implement, because that's when, Holmstrom and Franzen were playing together, and I think that's what they were trying to groom Franzen to be, that power forward that can go in front of the net and tip those pucks in, and Franzen just never really stayed consistent, but also the injuries caught up to him pretty quickly. So hope the man's doing all right. I know I follow him on social media in a few spots, so whatever I do get the opportunity to see that he's posting stuff, I'm glad to see that he's doing all right, because those concussions really did mess him up. But let's go ahead and move on. The Detroit chapter of the PHWA nominates Robby Fabbri for the 2023 Bill Masterton Trophy Award, which is given to the NHL player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. I also looked at the list and saw that Jeremie was on there. Was not too happy about that one, to be honest with you. Granted, the Stars might not have had anyone else to put on there, but Jeremie definitely does not show good sportsmanship, in my opinion. Just go look at the cross-check that he gave to Larkin to end the season pretty early in his neck.
All my homies hate Jeremie Benn.
Yes. The Grand Rapids Griffins have signed Jeremie Biakabutuka to an amateur tryout. For those of you that don't remember, he was a training camp invitee earlier this season. He's 21 years old, 6'4", 203 pounds, right-handed shooting D-man. He put up 42 points, 17 goals, 25 assists, and 56 games in the queue this season. Leslie, you got any thoughts on this? I don't even know if you remember seeing him at training camp, but this was a name that popped up to people, and people were shocked that he didn't get a contract. So, thoughts on it?
Yeah, pretty much all I have to say is you nailed the pronunciation of his name, so really good job by you. I know you're the guy in the podcast who likes to fumble around his words, and you got a mush mouth sometimes, and you don't always get thought out, but we know you're trying your hardest, so good job with that. As for him, I literally don't even remember him. You'd think I remember him with a name like that, but I absolutely do not whatsoever. Training camp might as well have been 10 years ago. That's how long of a season it's been. So yeah, good for the kid. I don't know how old he is, but
21.
He's 21. Okay, so yeah, he's young defenseman, high offensive upside. It sounds like with those numbers. Kind of sounds like something that Grand Rapids is in dire need of, as a high scoring puck moving D-man. I mean, they're gonna have a lot of big physical defenders down there next year with Albert Johansson and William Wallander. So I think he's gonna have a really good role as a puck-moving D-man down there, and those guys are pretty valuable. You really can't get too many of those guys, so good luck to him next year, and maybe you'll see him in Detroit one day. I don't know. I kind of hope that we have more talent in front of him. We don't have to call him up, but who knows? Anything can happen.
Yeah, this is someone who definitely got lost in the weeds. I mean, granted, it was because he just wasn't in our system. So it's fair to say that, no one really paid attention to what he was doing all season. But looking at these numbers, he had a really good season in the queue. He's young. He's just one of those players that's the typical late bloomer type of player. That's what it is, because you look at his stats, and I don't have it pulled up, but when I looked at it earlier, I'm pretty sure that the most he ever got was like under 25 points in a season with the Q. So he was bouncing around a lot. in that league. I'm pretty sure this is like his 4th season in the queue, or 5th or something like that. So yeah, just a late bloomer type of player. And yeah, even though the Red Wings did bring some defensemen to North America or with the Griffins, but on that right side, we need a lot more of those. We have a lot of left-handed defensemen. So yeah, if he can get paired up with Wallander or Albert Johansson, if he's not on the right side, I think there's an opportunity for him there to show what he's really capable of, and potentially, like you said, Leslie, maybe he could make the NHL someday. Who knows? But good for him for getting the chance to showcase his talents, and hopefully he can get a contract by the time that this season's over, and we can see him with the Grand Rapids Griffins next year, possibly with the Red Wings. But let's go ahead and move on. The OHL Coaches Poll results are out, Leslie. I don't know if you saw this. I didn't post this in the chat. But our boy, Amadeus Lombardi, was voted ahead of Shane Wright for smartest player in the West, second best playmaker, and the second best stick handler in the league in the West Coast conference that they have. How do you feel about that?
Oh, well, I let out a audible moan whenever I read that headline, so I guess that'll tell you how I feel about that. But yeah, I mean, he's having a historic season for the Firebirds. I think he's broken their single-season goal record already, and now he's over 100 points on the season, so it's kind of to be expected. I mean, he was one of those guys who was picked when it was after like that weird COVID period where his league, the OHL, shut down for a year, so he was kind of forced to be an overager in the OHL, so not only him, but people of his class, their numbers are almost a little bit skewed because they have to play there. They lost a year, but also they're playing against guys who are 3, maybe even 4 years younger than him. That being said, 100 points is 100 points no matter how you shake it down. So, correct. Yeah, he's had a really tremendous season. He's definitely a smart player, and he's got a goal-scoring touch. You see that from all the highlights that have been posted all over Twitter. I think is he at 50 goals, or maybe he's just below it? I know he's hovering around that number, but I don't know if he's exactly at 50 goals. But he's a guy who was picked late. He's kind of an undersized centerman, and hopefully he can project to be a center in the NHL, but you never know. Could be just a scoring winger. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him in Grand Rapids next year. I think he's already signed. Oh, he is signed to his entry-level contract already. So, yep. Honestly, they could bring him over next season if they think he's ready. And to see him get votes over a guy like Shane Wright, who literally was like the consensus number 1 last year up until, of course, he wasn't, that's tremendous. I mean, that's pretty much all you want in one of those late round picks when it's like kind of an unknown and just like a little bit of a swing. Like you want those guys to hit, and it looks like so far he's hitting. So that's great to see, and I think you can expect a lot from him in the future with this organization.
Yeah, with the goals thing, you mentioned 50 goals. He's at 45, so close enough. Yeah, he's 45 goals, 57 assists, 102 points total with 67 games played. They are in the playoffs currently, and the last time I checked, I believe he was at 5 points, so 3 goals, 2 assists, 6 games played so far. So he's almost a point per game player in the playoffs as well. So Leslie, I do think that he will be with the Grand Rapids Griffins next year. I don't think that there's any more that you can prove in the OHL unless he decided that he wanted to go play in the NCAA, go to college, which at this point, if you're signing your ELC, you're not doing that either.
He would have already made that decision anyways. He'd already be committed to a college.
Correct. Yeah. So, and you're right. Yeah. In a league where you're technically an overager and you were forced to stay into this league because of COVID and you missed out a whole entire year, you're still going up against the, players that are still the same age, same caliber as you are. So you're not really overly dominating the league. So I would say that the playing field is the same for just as much as any other team that's in the OHL as it is for the Flint Firebirds for Amadeus Lombardi. So good looks on him for doing what he did this season. I'm glad to see that a 4th-round pick that we had. I believe he was a 4th-round pick, right? Oh, please tell me I'm right.
Yeah, he was 4th.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it. Thanks for filling that space in for me while I'm trying to.
I just pulled off the top of my head, and that's a scary place. Not everything is always right, so someone can check me in the comments and see if I'm wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure it's 4th.
2022 fourth round pick, 113th overall by the
Beautiful.
Detroit Red Wings. We got it right.
Beautiful.
Buddy.
I was going to say 113 overall, so look at that. I guess I'm Rain Man.
Oh man, you got some photographic memory. I'm gonna need to borrow some of that. But yeah, like this is definitely someone that I can see with the Grand Rapids Griffins next year. For some, he could be a sleeper pick to make the jump to the Red Wings because he showcased that he looked pretty damn good when he was in the training camp with us, right before the season started and all that. So watch him, watch out, see what he does upcoming this summer. Hopefully he has a good offseason, comes in the training camp, does the same thing. He could have a Soderblom situation where he just forces the hand of the coaching staff and says, yeah, put me on the opening night roster and I could probably get you a goal. Maybe. I hope. Show me.
I think he's gonna have a massive training camp this summer. I think he's gonna be one of my guys to watch, along with like Mazur and Wallander, and of course Casper. But I think Casper has a leg up over all those guys anyway, since he already has one game under his belt. But yeah, he's gonna be a guy to watch for sure. I would be shocked if he makes a team out of camp. I think a lot of us would, but Grand Rapids seems to be his destination next year, and I think he's gonna thrive over there.
100%. Yes, I agree with you. So, around the league news. I'm only laughing because I can't believe this is the first one I put down. Leslie, the Arizona Coyotes Development Arm files notice a claim seeking $2.3 billion from the Phoenix City Hall in response to a complaint filed by Sky Harbor. The city of Tempe was claiming the Tempe Entertainment District plan could not include previously approved multifamily housing because of noise issues. Oddly enough, both cities had agreed for decades that multifamily housing was permitted in airport flight paths as long as the apartments were designed to minimize external noise. What a mess for the Arizona Coyotes. Like, not even just for the team, but like that whole entire city, that state. $2.3 billion. And they're saying that they can't do all this stuff because noise.
Yeah, when I first read that headline, I was just like, oh, good, it's just another wrench to throw into the plans of the Arizona Coyotes, and really just another piece of ammunition for the people who want them to move. I read into this a little bit more, and really all this is just the city of Phoenix, which they were formerly based in. They're just making a move to try and block this plan for their new arena, citing some noise violation, which it sounds like that wasn't even an issue in the past, and from what you said, it's already been approved. So, honestly, like, the Coyotes and their development group moving to strike this, I kind of see this as a good thing for the Coyotes. I mean, it's not necessarily a good thing, but it's a good sign that they're not going to let anything step in their path to get this project done. Right. It's really all just politicians and bureaucrats trying to bully the Coyotes out of going to Tempe. I don't really know why. It was very clear Phoenix didn't want them. That's why they moved out to Glendale, and then now they're not in Glendale. So it's a little strange to me that they're going to try and block this, but I don't know. I see this as the city of Tempe saying, we want to get this arena done. We understand that this has been a whole ordeal. It's been a debacle pretty much the whole time that this has been going on. But it's really just them saying, like, we're not going to lay down and die. We're going to get this done no matter what. And I think if they can get rid of this notice of claim and they can come out clean on the other side, I think we can go full steam ahead with this plan for the rebuild. Or for the rebuild, Jesus. The relocation.
You weren't wrong about the rebuild either. So, yeah, I mean,
okay, this is...
Go ahead.
This is the thing with the Coyotes. I never know. It's rebuild one week, it's a relocation next week. It's just a whole nest of crap. Like, there's too much going on to keep track of. It's a total mess. But yeah, I see this as a good thing that they're not going to back down from their fight. And I don't know. I'm one of those people who, if you can successfully get this arena done and you can relocate, go ahead and do it. I don't want them to have to relocate unless it's the absolute last straw that they can do. Because we don't want that. I mean, even if they relocate, it's going to be still the same ownership group. I mean, they'd have to sell it if that was the case. I mean, they're not going to just sell and relocate. It'll have to be moved because at that point, the market's not there. And why are you going to move to a city who doesn't want you and won't approve? I mean, you can't play in a college arena forever. You can't do it. You shouldn't even be doing it this season, but oh well, you are. There is no other option. But I really hope this gets done. I for one, hope they can just get rid of all this crap they've been going through and they can become a competent franchise. That hasn't really been shown to happen in the past, but who knows? They get this new arena, maybe they can establish themselves back in the NHL. So go ahead and get it solved, and I'm with them. I'm definitely with them.
I, myself, am with the Arizona Coyotes. Yeah, don't let the state or whoever it is step all over you. Just do what you got to do to get your arena built, because it does, from this motion of filing this claim, that the ownership is serious about their team and they want to seriously build on this plot of land that they're trying to get. And the noise thing, I just thought that was silly, because when I read that, the first thing that came to mind was when you go to Little Caesars Arena where the Detroit Red Wings play, what's across the street? Apartments.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of
premium apartments, like desirable living.
Yes. Yeah. Like me, Kenny, and George almost decided to get one of those at one point too. So like, noise? Are you kidding? And there's the main road is right there too, blocking the apartments and the arena. You're not going to get noise from the arena. It's going to be from the cars driving by every single time.
Which would happen regardless if you have an arena there or not. And I mean, does the city of Phoenix think that the Coyotes are going to play in an outdoor rink? And they're going to have like 20,000 screaming fans? Like, guys, this hockey is played indoors. Like, what are you even going on about with noise? Like, I guess maybe it's noise from construction, which, like, that's temporary. It'll be going on until the arena's built, and then problem solved. There's no noise violations, no issues whatsoever. I don't know. I think they're just salty that for whatever reason the Coyotes decided to relocate. I mean, it really was more on the city of Phoenix than it was the Coyotes saying, peace out, we don't want to deal with you anymore. Like, they kind of drove them out of the city, so I don't know. Maybe they have some of the NHL owners in their ears saying block this no matter what, so we can stop paying our revenue share. We can stop paying escrow. So I don't know. I don't get it. It's just
No, sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
It's just another unnecessary wrench in the plans of the Coyotes. I don't know. It almost seems like people want the team to fail, which, like, if the team fails, that not only looks bad on the NHL, but that looks bad on the rest of the owners too. So I don't personally want that to happen.
Here's what I was going to say. I don't think, while it possibly could be other people that don't want this to happen, but when it comes down to, I think the world just does not want the Arizona Coyotes to exist, because something new just happens to them.
They need to take a hint.
Year. Like, the world just says, no, like, just sell and go somewhere else. Like,
yeah.
Okay. I feel bad for them. I really do about this one. Not really, because they're already billionaires, whatever. They could always go find a new spot, and if it's about the money, then shame on them. It should be about the land. If you really want your team to be here, then yes, fight for it. But if you're doing it because of money, then shame on you. Sell the team. Yeah. So we'll end it there.
Well, you can just look at it this way. If they absolutely cannot get the arena done, they will relocate. There's no other backup plan there. They will go somewhere else. And that's just the way it's going to be.
As they should. So, in other news, yes, I know that was a mess, but in other news, NCAA D1 men's Frozen Four championship game. Leslie, do you remember if anyone picked Quinnipiac, who won their first ever title 3-2 in overtime against Minnesota? Because I didn't.
I think Derek chose them to be in the national game, but I don't think any one of us picked them to win the game. And I mean, deservedly so. Like, they took it to Michigan, man. And over like the past 2 or 3 seasons, Quinnipiac has just really been running through the competition. I mean, they play in the ECAC, so that's not really. It's not really to the level of the NCHC, like what the Broncos go through and what Michigan goes through. But credit to them. They won the games to get there, and in the big moments, you heard me on the podcast. I had Michigan go all the way. I had them against Quinnipiac, and they just banded together. They got it done. I mean, this is almost like a ragtag group of players who I don't even know if there's one NHL prospect on that team, but everyone just kind of bands together, and they played well as a team and got it done.
I saw that there was one, and I believe it was the goaltender. He is a Sharks prospect. I did see that.
He is? Okay.
Yeah, I believe it was him. I honestly did not even click on it. I saw it on like my timeline on Twitter, and I was like, oh, okay, someone's signing a contract with San Jose, and they're from... How did you say it? Is it not Quinnipiac?
Quinnipiac?
Is it Quinnipiac?
You honestly may be right. I have no idea. We'll call him the Q. How about that? QU.
Okay. No, I don't know either because I've heard it both ways, so I just want to make sure. Okay.
Well, that's the way I've heard it, and then you said Quinnipiac, and I was like, am I wrong or is he wrong? We'll call it Q. University Q.
Yeah, University Q.
Yeah, the Q.
So I did watch that game.
Congrats to the Q.
I caught the tail end of the Michigan versus the Quinnipiac game. And to be honest with you, yeah, I only watched the third period, and to be honest with you, from what I saw just in the third period, Michigan was really just looking for any type of breakaway that they could get just to get that goal that they needed to tie it up or just try to get up there. And Michigan really just did not look good at all. I think Quinnipiac just did a really good job at closing them down and did not give them too much to work with. And they stayed a lot like in Michigan's defensive zone. So Quinnipiac was in the offense majority of the third period for what it seemed like on my end. And
seemed that way
they
too.
They deserved to go to the championship game after that. And after I watched that, I was like, I bet you they're going to win it. And I had Minnesota versus Michigan. So I at least had one team in there. Kind of sucks that Michigan didn't win, but I'm happy for Quinnipiac. See, now I want to say both names.
The Q.
Quinnipiac.
The Q.
Quinnipiac. The Q.
Let's go Q.
Let's go Q. So good for them.
Yeah, so nice good for them. I mean, it just proves that in these kinds of tournaments where it's, win and you're in, or one and done, you really got to prioritize playing as a team because they just don't really have anyone on that team who's a big name guy, like a big household name guy. Like they don't have a Fantilli. They don't have a Nyes. They don't have a Luke Hughes or a Seamus Casey. And I think that almost, it's kind of weird to say, but I think that's almost kind of what was the downfall for Michigan is they have all these stud players who are going to be, most of them are going to be, good NHLers, decent NHLers. Some of them have star potential. I think maybe some of them just were trying to showcase for their respective team who drafted them, their skill set, and it kind of ended up costing them in the long run because it seemed like it was more of an individual showcase rather than just coming together, playing a good team game, and just winning based on your strength and numbers. And Quinnipiac, they played together. Their goaltender was lights out. I wish I could remember his name, but apparently he's a Sharks prospect, so maybe you'll see him in the NHL one day. But yeah, it was kind of like a Cinderella story. I know they were seeded pretty high. I think they were a 2 seed, maybe a 3 seed, but I mean, good for them. They're the rightful winners, and I don't know. We'll see him back next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they make the Frozen Four next year again.
And to go and to add on to what you said, about some of these players that they were showcasing for their clubs that they're with, you could also say that some of those players that are on Michigan or that weren't on, Quinnipiac, the Q, these players might not have wanted to try and push themselves over the limit because they knew that they were, because now you're seeing Nyes is going to Toronto. You're seeing Luke Hughes is going to New Jersey Devils. You're seeing all these other players are going to their respective clubs now and going into the playoffs with them. So suspicion to believe that maybe some of these players just didn't want to put in the full effort because they didn't want to risk themselves being injured and not be able to play in the playoffs with their clubs, which is, I guess, fine. Do I think that's really what happened? No. Still a fair question to ask, though, if some of these players are doing that. And I wouldn't put it past some of them. Some of them might.
I couldn't say that. I mean, I know that hockey players at any level, no matter what team they're playing for, they're not thinking about like, oh, what am I going to be able to play on my big club next week when we play game 81 or 82 or whatever the hell it is when we go into the playoffs. Like, they're focused on winning right there with that team because that's the team they've been with all season, some of them for 2 or 3 seasons. So I don't think that was it at all. I think really more what it comes, and I'm not saying that's what you're thinking is what led to that result for Michigan, but I think really more what you could point the finger at is just all the guys trying to do like their individual show, I guess, like almost like an audition, so to speak, although they already, are on teams and they have a future with those clubs, but it almost kind of seemed like an individual showcase. And for some of those players, I mean, like for players like Adam Fantilli, like you can do an individual showcase, and if you're good enough, you can put the team on your back. But unfortunately, they just couldn't band together when they needed to, and it ended up costing them.
Yeah, no, you're right. So that's not what I was actually alluding to at all, that these players are just dumping the game away for a chance at winning the ship. That's not what I'm saying at all, but basically it's just me iterating that it is possible, but I'm not saying that that's what they did. So, yeah, I'm kind of just flip-flopping over here a little bit, it sounds like. But but speaking about Adam Fantilli, he won the Hobie Baker Memorial Award as a top player in the NCAA. So that's good to see. The kid's going to go and be taken number 2 overall in the draft. If anyone has any differences on that, post it in the comment section below. I would love to hear why you think that Adam Fantilli does not deserve to be drafted 2nd overall. If Connor Bedard was not in this draft, Adam Fantilli would go number 1. If Adam Fantilli was in last year's draft, he would have went number 1. It's that plain and simple. This kid is too good to not be taken number 1 if it wasn't for this draft and Connor Bedard, to be fair. So, in other news, we missed this, Leslie, last week. IIHF Women's World Championships tournament kicked off last week, Wednesday, so that might have been why we missed it. And I wrote that down, okay. The qualifying rounds will go until tomorrow, with the quarterfinals starting on the 13th. USA. Let's go, girls. Come on.
USA's look good. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another gold medal game between the US and Canada. I mean, our women's team is dominant, man. They've been beating up on teams. So, good for them. I hope they can go all the way. I'd love to have another gold here for the US. And bring it home, ladies. Let's go.
Yeah, no offense to the women's. I haven't been watching you guys, but I do see all the highlights of all the goals, of all the plays, that pop up on Twitter. So, yeah, all the women out there in that tournament, you guys are kicking ass. Keep it up. We're proud of you. Keep growing the game of hockey so that all these other women come in and showcase their talents as well, so that way we can keep the game growing. So, but I will tune into the USA-Canada final. So, that's my prediction. Keep it right here. So, in other news, the Boston Bruins...
Before we move on, Zach...
Oh, okay.
I have a follow-up on that. The U.S. and Canada are playing right now, tied up at 1 apiece. So, there you go. Yeah, how about that? So maybe it won't be the gold medal game. Maybe it'll just happen right now that we'll beat them now. So, good luck, I guess.
You never know. Leslie wanted me to put this in here somewhere, so I just threw it in right here. The Boston Bruins broke the all-time wins record in the NHL with 63, and they still have 2 games left at hand.
Woo!
You guys, but congrats. We say that because that beats the Red Wings record that they had.
Can't have shit in Detroit.
You could always make the argument that, there's no ties in today's NHL. They had ties back then. The only reason why blah, 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 blah. Well, if you want to get super technical, the regulation wins they don't have enough of, or what is it, the regular overtime wins that they technically don't have the same amount as the Red Wings do. But when it comes down to wins, yes, they have passed the Red Wings. So if you want to go start an argument with the Boston Bruins fans, go ahead. Go do it on Twitter. Go talk to your neighbor. Go do it. But
I would advise against that because you're probably not going to win it. But go right ahead if you want to. I know how fun it is to argue online, so I'm not gonna keep anyone from their passion.
No, go ahead and do it. But yeah, I mean, good for them. But yeah, It makes me sad. It really does.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, just look at it this way. They won the President's Trophy, and what happens every time you win the President's Trophy? You don't get a Stanley Cup at the end. I mean, I think the last team who did that was, God, who even was it? Like
the Blackhawks in like
the Blackhawks in 2013, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. So I guess you can find solace in that. This is like a little preview of our future episodes, but when we do our playoff brackets, I have them losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. I pray to God that prediction comes true, but we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, and we will plan on doing a playoff bracket amongst the boys. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming up in a future episode once the season does close off. So we're going to be scratching at any little bit of content that we can get. So we'll do our best.
We'll have good content.
Yep.
We always do.
All right, so another around the league news. Yeah, we got a long list today. Sorry, guys. Pasa and McDavid are the first two players to reach a 60-goal mark in a single season since in 95, 96 when Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr did it. But speaking about that and speaking of Connor McDavid, sorry, everyone, I just hit my microphone. The Edmonton Oilers become the first team since the 95-96 Penguins with 3 players recording over 100 points in a regular season. The 3 players to do that are Connor McJesus with 64 goals, 151 points. Draisaitl, 51 goals, 124 points. And my personal favorite, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I love that guy. I don't know why. I just think he's a great player. He has a great comeback story. In my personal opinion, he's got 37 goals and 103 points. Leslie, you got anything to speak on all this stuff? Because I got nothing. Congrats, all of you. I wish you were all Red Wings players, but you're not. So congrats, but sweet.
I just think it's crazy how we had Austin Matthews last year who scored 60 goals, and while he was doing that, he looked like he was literally the best player on planet Earth, like the next coming of Mario Lemieux. Mm-hmm. And then you think about the fact that we have 2 more 60-goal scorers this year. I didn't think we'd see that for the next 5 or 10 years in the NHL, and now we have 2. And not to mention, there's 2 games left. They could add more to that total. So that is absolutely incredible. I mean, Lemieux and Jagr, I don't know how much you guys know about hockey, but that's 2 good names to be in company with. So that's amazing. God, could you imagine if this is the Stanley Cup matchup? Bruins versus Oilers? That would be an all-timer. Of course, that would go against my prediction of the Bruins losing the Eastern Conference. So, you know, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, these are 2 of just the best players on planet Earth right now. If I had to bet my money on one of them keeping this up, I'd have to bet my money on McJesus. I mean, he's called McJesus for a reason, and that's not to discredit this season by Pasternak. This is by far his best season, and I mean that should be expected. He's in his prime right now, so I think this is pretty much the potential that we all could see him getting to is a 60-goal mark. Maybe even a little higher than some of us even thought about. But yeah, it's truly incredible. I mean, in an era where it seems like scoring has been down this year and goalies have been elevated to a higher level, for 2 guys to get 60 goals in a season, and also when you mentioned the 300-point players on Edmonton, that's just how you know that all these guys are playing at a different level and they're putting themselves far above the rest of the NHL. So that is absolutely incredible. I still can't really wrap my head around that even happening, but congratulations to them. They'll be Red Wings in the future. You can bet on it. Maybe when they're 38, but they'll be Red Wings in the future. Why not?
So I'll just go ahead and steal a bunch of what Leslie just said and insert it into what I wanted to say because he said it really well. I know I don't sound excited, but no, you're right, Leslie. You know, it's really crazy to see that we didn't just have 1. We had 2 this season, and we had 1 last year. And we mentioned how we're now in a league where it is a lot more goal scoring. So, I mean, I think you were right to imagine that you probably wouldn't see that again for another 3 to 7 years. But now that we're doubling the amount of players each year that are getting 60 goals, shoot, man, we might see 4 next year. You never know. At this
never
rate,
know, man.
Goal scoring's crazy right now. So, all right. Enough about players that are not a part of the Red Wings because you guys are here to hear about your team. So let's go ahead and jump
already-
into the Red Wings. What?
I can already see them yelling at me in the comments, like, why are you guys talking about guys who are not Dylan Larkin and Mo Sider and Lucas Raymond? Why is it taking you guys 40 minutes?
It's only Eddie that's in the comments saying that, dude.
Yeah. We'll have more.
Eddie, if you're listening, we love you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Red Wings versus the Buffalo Sabres Thursday. For my notes that I have written down right here, Leslie, I don't know what your notes say, but mine say Husso started in a net, and we lost 7-6 in a shootout. Raymond got 3 assists. Larkin got a goal and 1 assist. Sider got 2 assists. Edvinsson, Berggren, Chason, and Daddy Perron all get goals. The other thing. So one thing that I noticed about this game, it was super freaking chaotic, man. It was probably one of the better games that the Red Wings had in terms of competitiveness and scoring and keeping up with the other team. They lacked goaltending and defense, but this was also the most chaotic game I think that I had seen them play all season. Let me hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts about the game.
Really, my only thought about the game is I'm getting nervous for Husso, man. He has not looked good in his last few starts, and we're also recording this episode during the Dallas game. It's 5-0
Yes.
Dallas right now, and Husso was once again in net. I think maybe you can give him the benefit of the doubt that he did have an injury that kept him out for about a week or two. Maybe he's still playing with that, but also at the same time, why would they throw him in if he's still injured? But it's giving me shades of what happened to Ned last year, where Ned was pretty solid for the most part, and I think it's just the volume of starts. It's more than Husso was used to. I don't think he's ever played a season where he's started this many games. He's been a backup the whole time in St. Louis, so that could be part of it. But this is a guy that we need to be solid next year. Like, this guy is going to be our starting goaltender because who else is it going to be at this point? Kosa's too young and inexperienced. I mean, he hasn't even played in the AHL yet. I guess he's played 2 games, but they weren't very good games. But yeah, it's not going to be anyone besides Husso. You're not going to get a starter in free agency. It's a very thin market there. So I pray to God that this dude can just, I don't know if he needs to clear the cobwebs out of his head. I don't know if he needs to rehab from an injury this summer, but do whatever you got to do to be solid, because if we're going into next season and Husso's having performances like this on a regular basis, well, it's another rebuilding year. Don't even think about mentioning the word playoffs around us, because it's not going to happen. So I'm very nervous for him.
Yeah, I had concerning questions myself when Lalonde said that he was going to come back and I believe it was right when they had 6 or 5 games left in the season, and this is their no, it would probably be their 6th to last. So I'm sorry. So regardless, I thought it was pretty silly to bring him back. At that point, you should have just shut him down. You already had Ned, who was looking pretty decent. Granted, Hellberg didn't look that great, but you ended up setting Ned down anyways. So I don't know if Grand Rapids just really needed a goalie, but it was just, I guess I just don't really understand what the whole purpose of it was, because you're right, Leslie. Like, this is kind of concerning, and I'm assuming it's because he still hasn't fully recovered from whatever injury he was out with. I mean, these last 3 games are prime testaments to it. I mean, this game he let in technically 7 goals. He let in 6, and then you lose. And then you go against the Pittsburgh Penguins. At this point, we'll just tie them both these games in. Yeah, he started in that game too, and they lost 5-1. And now it's 5-0 today. That's 16 goals in 3 games. That's bad. That's garbage. It's hot garbage. And like, I didn't get to watch the Pittsburgh Penguins game. I had the in-laws over, but I did get to catch the recap. There was one play where Edvinsson was caught screening Husso pretty bad, and the goal got in. So I'm not blaming every goal on Husso, but we brought him in to be the number 1 guy. And you're right. Like, we can't have this happening going into next season, because then we're just putting ourselves back in the same situation as it was, I guess, with Ned. So, yeah, I think the Red Wings, one of the main things that they should probably do in the offseason is look for someone to come in and challenge and make it a three-way challenge for the top goaltending spot. If you do decide to bring Ned back, also bring someone else in, whether that's through free agency or a trade. But yes, you have to have a really good tandem. And if someone gets injured, then at least you have Ned to fall back on. Okay, then that solves the issue. But yes, I am with you, Leslie, that this is a little bit of a concern for me, and hopefully the offseason just fixes it all, and I do think that it would, but I just hope that whatever was wrong with him, it's not... I don't want... How do I want to say this? I don't want him letting in all these goals be due to the reason because he's still injured, because I don't want him to carry on that injury going into next season as well. And I know that they have a lot of time in between, but we don't know what's wrong with him.
No clue. And I think you can bring another guy in free agency. You're not going to get a starting caliber goaltender in this pool. It's just so shallow that is absolutely not going to happen. But you can get a guy to come in and battle for the backup job. I think you can still run with Husso as your starter next year because he's looked really good as a starter this year up until recently. So that honestly inclines me to think that it's because of his injury, and for whatever reason they can't just go with Hellberg and Nedeljkovic. But I think if he gets some help behind him as a backup, and you get a solid backup who can play 25 or 35 games, maybe that could help. Maybe it's just he's had too many starts. I think this is like his fourth or fifth start in a row. So I guess pretty much any goalie short of like Vasilevsky or Ullmark is going to get burned out after a while. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's just a situation that forces him to keep playing. We don't know the details behind that, unfortunately, but I really hope that he can come and bounce back next season, because goalie is definitely a position that we have not been fortunate on in the past 5 or 6 years. So we really need to get that right.
I just pulled up the NHL app, and you were not kidding. Yeah, they're losing 5-0 to the Dallas Stars, and they have 11 shots on net. I'd be shocked if they didn't pull Husso now. This is just insane.
He's already been
you're
pulled.
definitely not going to get it. Yeah, you're not going to get a start. Yeah, you're not going to get a starting goalie in free agency. You're definitely going to have to trade for one. We talked about Carter Hart. That's a decent option. Mm-hmm. I do think that there are probably some other options that you can go out there, but I don't think that there's too many bad options in free agency, and going after an older goaltender, that's not the worst, because goaltenders tend to do better as they age. And we've seen plenty of times of really old goaltenders end up doing well, but granted, the team in front of them is a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So you never know what the Red Wings might do, especially with Steve Yzerman at the helm. But going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins game, the only goal scorer in there was P.S. Suter. You got a Raymond assist again. The Wings just sucked, but the Penguins really want to make the playoffs and couldn't afford a loss. They looked like that they were playoff ready based on what I saw on the recap of the whole entire game. I didn't get to rewatch the whole game, but on the recap, they looked like that they were playoff ready. I mean, they were stick lifting out there. They were pulling pucks away from people. There was this one play that Malkin made on Joe Veleno where he just pickpockets him from behind, steals the puck, and they score, and Joe Veleno just was stuck chasing Malkin the whole time, and Joe Veleno could not push him off the puck. It was old man strength and just hockey IQ right there for Malkin to just put one away, basically, and it gave Joe Veleno a valuable lesson right there that, like, hey, you need to be stronger on the puck and you need to knock these players off of it. So, yeah, it's just, is the season over yet?
Yeah,
because this is rough. Like,
basically it is.
I just really hope that this isn't translating into next season. That's really my biggest fear. So the other bright spot, really, you can say, was that Seider in the game against Buffalo. Buffalo was really trying to target Mo Seider, but Mo Seider was doing a really good job at standing his ground and defending himself. So I love to see that he was doing that. And there were a lot of big hits out there and a couple scrums out there. So it was really nice to see that they were doing that. And I just lost Leslie. So I'm going to try and finish this one out. So overall, from both of the games, Raymond, I'm just going to break it down from all the last 5 games. Some of these players are going to be the last 10 games. Overall, I'm just going to break it down by the players. Raymond has 1 goal, 5 assists in his last 5 games. Seider has 4 assists in his last 5 games. He's at 7 assists in his last 10 overall. Berggren has 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 5 games. Larkin has 4 goals, 2 assists in his last 5 games, but 12 points in his last 10. Leslie, glad to have you back. I don't know what happened, buddy, but basically
what happened there.
Basically what I did was I just closed out on both of the games and I just started doing my overall rant. I touched on how Raymond's doing good in his last 5 games. He's got 6 points in his last 5. Seider has 4 assists in his last 5, 7 in his last 10. Berggren has 4 points in his last 5, and Larkin has 6 in his last 5, 12 in his last 10. How does that make you feel? Because these are all the center core of the Detroit Red Wings right now, minus Joe Veleno, obviously, and Simon Edvinsson. So how does that make you feel hearing all those stats?
Well, it's good to see that those players are at least finishing the season out strong, because we need them to continue this performance in the next year. We really even need some of them to step up. I'm not going to name any names, but I think people know who I'm talking about based on previous episodes. But it's good to see that those players are finishing off the year strong. Well, yeah, that's nice to see. I guess it gives you a little bit of a reason to tune into the games and see what those guys are going to do. I mean, Larkin's almost at 35. Maybe he could still get it. I think that's something we could tune into to see if he's going to do that, because I think he's already at the season high in goals, and that would be a really good number for him to hit there, 35. So yeah, it's nice to see. Just finish out the year strong, I guess. I say that while the Wings are down 5-0. So I guess they're not taking my advice, but just let's hope the next 2 games are better, huh?
Let's just hope. Yeah, and overall, once again, to kind of close off the 2 games, the Sabres were pushed against the wall from a Detroit Red Wings team that very much is in the play spoiler mode, or at least they were against them in the couple games before that, this late into the season, and was very chaotic offensively and with minimal defense and goaltending from both sides. And at least for Buffalo, they can say that they had a rookie goaltender, and for us, we have a half-broken Husso, I guess. So it was a fair, even exchange, Leslie? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Penguins wasted no time taking advantage of our depleted team, young players, and just outplayed us from the start to finish. Honestly, I mean, the Red Wings did look good in the first half, in the first period. After that, like I said, I mean, they're old men, their hockey IQ, their skill, they just outworked the Detroit Red Wings in general. So, yeah, and it looks like the Dallas Stars are pretty much doing the exact same thing. So on Wednesday's episode, I don't think that we'll really have too much of a recap on this game, because we're pretty much giving it to you guys.
We're not even going to talk about it. We're not going to give one thought to this game, because we've already said too much tonight. We've already said more than I wanted to say. Yeah, but yeah, that Pens game, that was pretty much just the team that they see the math. They know their back is up against the wall, and they want to make playoffs. They want to preserve that streak. I don't think a lot of people, especially including Pens fans, imagine them to do anything in the playoffs, but they kind of remind me of, the last few years of the streak for the Red Wings. Like, they're trying to cling to whatever relevancy they can and just hang their hat on something good for that franchise, because we know it when that core of those 3 players, Malkin, Sid, and Letang, retire, that's going to be a long, dark rebuild. I mean, they're pretty much going to go through exactly what Detroit has gone through the past 7 or 8 years, because they have not set themselves up for the future at all. But, for now, when you have those 3 players playing, you owe it to them to just do whatever you can to get in and win. And who knows? Maybe they'll go God mode and steal the series. I don't see it happening, but it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. So, yeah, that's a team that desperately wants to get in. I, right here, am going to say they don't. There's just too much that needs to go right rather than them just winning. So I'm going to say no, but I may look like a fool. They may prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I have no personal preference whether if they make it or not, but being a Red Wings fan, obviously I think majority of you would say that you would prefer them not to make it, because that might change the course of them forever, which they're pretty close to it, whether if they make it or not. I mean, they have a lot of tough choices coming up for themselves. And you're right, Leslie. I don't think that they're a team that could really make a strong playoff push. And I'm sure that's probably one of the bigger questions is, when are we going to stop pretending that we're good still? And, they probably don't want to end up being like us and how we're shaped out to be, because look at us, we're going into it's almost year 8 of the rebuild. And I don't know if we'll ever technically say that the rebuild's over. Yzerman doesn't really seem like that type of guy. I think he's just kind of the guy that just the team will tell you when it's time that it's over. So
I think maybe the rebuild will be over when we hoist the Stanley Cup.
At this point,
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be the only way that I'm convinced that it's over.
So one thing I did want to bring up that when Leslie was talking about the game, or when we both were, it's 8:27 currently p.m. Eastern Standard Time. More than halfway through the second period for the Stars Red Wings games. The Red Wings are losing 5-0. So next episode we'll probably touch on it a little bit, but not too much. But yeah, that will be the last episode that we do on Wednesday before the end of the season. Well, we'll do one more. We'll do one more on Sunday, but the season will be over. So I don't know why I keep talking. So let's go ahead and do a standings update. The Red Wings currently sit 23rd overall. For those of you that cannot do math, that is 10th to last. So only 2 more games for the Red Wings after tonight's game. Leslie, we still need the Islanders to lose. But no. I got a question for you. But you already answered this question. This was a question that I was going to ask. Who will make the 2 wildcard spots out of the Panthers, Penguins, and Isles? So to you, it sounds like it's going to be the Panthers and the Islanders, correct?
That's what I personally like for not only myself, but my family's happiness. Those family members over on the island, they don't really have a whole lot to look forward to as far as sports go. I mean, the Mets are pretty much already dead in the water, and even if they weren't, they blow it every year anyways. So let's go Islanders. I want to see them lift the Stanley Cup. Sorry that it's going to be pick 32, but hey, at the end of the day, it's one more first-round pick you didn't have before the season started. So quit your crying, Zack.
I just want us to be good again. So currently, the Panthers and the Islanders have 1 point over the Pittsburgh Penguins, with all the teams having 2 games left. In terms of the Red Wings, they're stuck at 80 points. Right below them is the Vancouver Canucks with 79, the Washington Capitals with 77. The Philadelphia Flyers are at 71, and I won't continue on from there because even with Philadelphia at 71, they still have 2 games left, and there's no way that they're going to be able to catch up to us. So the furthest that we can drop now is down to 8th.
Cool.
We're far too familiar with 8th and 6th.
Don't shed any tears yet, because you remember what happened when we picked 8th last year? We got Marco Kasper. So hey, I would not be. You know what? I say this on every episode, I feel like, but if you're in the top 10 of this draft, you're going to get a stud. So I'm not happy that we are at 8th again. It really felt like, this season was a lot more successful, so at least you can hang your head on that. Like, this is the Red Wings' first 80-point season since, God, I can't remember the stat. I think it was 16-17. But either way, it's been a long-ass time. When you and I were both still in college, which feels like 15 years ago, so it might as well be 15 years ago. But you can hang your hats on that. Of course, we'll go over this with our season review, but I feel like it's been a more successful season. You still get the odd blowout here and there, but that pretty much happens to every team besides, I guess, Boston this year. So, yeah, a lot of positives to build on. I guess 8th overall in this draft. It's not really like 8th overall in most other years. Like, we might get Oliver Moore, we might get Dvorsky. Of course, we'll get into that as the season drags on and we start covering our prospects, so we can go a little more in depth to those and get a lot of our listeners familiar with the names. But at this point, I guess, screw it. I guess I'm Team Tank for the last 3 games. Just lose them all. Let's get the best odds and let's go Red Wings, and let's bounce back next season because we need it.
Yeah, like I said, I think you guys can probably hear it in our voices a little bit that it's, once you get towards the end of the season and you know for a fact that your team is not a playoff contender, you got nothing else really to look for except for Team Tank. And we try to see the optimistic side that there's still stuff that you have to play for. And it's true. These players still have a lot of things that they have to play for. Like I said, Raymond, Sider, Berger, and Larkin, we need these guys to continue to produce going into the end of the season so that they can carry that into the next season, because this is our main core, including Joe Veleno, Rasmussen as well. I forgot about him. He's been injured for so long. And Edvinsson. Yes. So, yeah. Oh, boy. What's upcoming for the Red Wings? Well,
Pain.
I was going to say the game tonight and that it was fan appreciation night, and Lalonde wanted a dub, but
Hell of a way to appreciate your fans. God
it's now 6-0. Okay, I'm closing my iPad. I'm done. Okay, so let's Husso starts in net. Today is Edvinsson's last game of the season to reserve the extra year on his ELC contract. Prashant Iyer says on Twitter, in my opinion, it's a mistake to burn Edvinsson's ELC. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we've been over it before, that it is true of some players that they're too good that the coach or the GM will just play them and just not really worry about that year going away because they're still cost controlled. I mean, at this point, what's the point of playing him the last 2 games? Like you said, we're not a playoff team. We're not playing for anything past the next 2 games, so there's no real point in doing that. I get that if he was a call-up like earlier in the season, I would not be saying the same thing. I'd like him to just play as much as possible, but at this point, we're not gaining anything by burning off that year. We're really only hurting ourselves, so let's not do that.
Yeah, and I read some of the comments. Someone brought up, I'm not trying to go too deep into this kind of topic right here, and this is something that we can talk about later down the line in a future episode about this, but someone brought up a good point that Jack Hughes, had they burned a year of his ELC, they were going to be able to sign him when it was the year before he produced over a point per game. He was half a point per game. They were able to sign him then had they burned the ELC year. And then he produced at that ridiculous amount, and that's how he got his contract. So had the New Jersey Devils did themselves the service of getting him over those 9 games, then that was... Do you kind of see where I'm going with this? Where they had the opportunity to potentially pay him less. So the argument with Prashant is by the time that he has 1 more year on his contract, he's going to explode, and then it's just going to poop on the Red Wings basically at that point. I don't know by how much it would make that much of a difference. Do I think that he could have a great year on his last year before he has to get paid on his long-term contract or whatever he's asking for? Absolutely. I do think that is a possibility. But I think this is me reading too deep into it, but maybe Yzerman has something up his sleeve to where he wants to utilize that money elsewhere before giving it to Edvinsson. That's pretty much all I got on it, so we don't have to go too deep into it.
And I hear what you're saying on that comparison. The only difference is Jack Hughes was a regular on the team pretty much right after he got drafted. So that's
really
the only thing there. If Edvinsson literally came out the season before and was just lights out, he's the next Erik Karlsson, sure, burn the year and pay him early. But I see where you're going with that.
Right.
We'll worry about that when we get Bedard.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying that Edvinsson's going to be the next Jack Hughes. That's not what I'm saying. But that person who put that on Twitter, and I should give them credit, and I'm sorry that I'm not. But yeah, I gave you a like on there, and I think that you hit the nail on the head that's something that you should be concerned about. And, that's Yzerman's role to make those decisions. And it's a gamble for sure, but hopefully it works out for him. But I want to see Edvinsson shine as well. So, someone prove me wrong, please. Whether it's Edvinsson or Steve Yzerman, just do it. What's also upcoming, other than tonight's game and the loss, the Wings will play against the Carolina Hurricanes away.
You're not going to win?
Carolina. What?
They're not going to win this game?
Oh, my God. Leslie, let me finish this off. Okay, the Red Wings play the Carolina Hurricanes away at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Predictions on that game tomorrow, buddy. I was going to ask predictions on both games, but it don't matter now. Just give me the prediction.
My prediction is they won't be losing 6-0 in the second period. That's my prediction, because I guess that's the bar tonight, so hopefully they can get over that.
That is the bar. Yeah, with Carolina, I know Carolina has had their recent struggles with injuries. I know Svechnikov is out. There's a couple other name players that are out. I'm okay with the Red Wings losing. Like, I'm not okay with them. I'm okay with them losing, but I want meaningful hockey from some of these players. Like, I want the Raymonds, I want the Siders, I want the Berggrens, I want the Larkins to keep scoring. Just keep doing that. Daddy Perron, too. We love Daddy Perron. We love you. That was
Keep it up, Daddy P.
Keep it up, Daddy P. All right. That's pretty much all we got for you guys today. So, Leslie, let's go ahead and close it off with some final thoughts. Go ahead, buddy. Take it off.
I'd like to give a shout out to my boy Phil. He just started listening to the podcast and sharing it among all his friends. So I appreciate the support, Phil. Appreciate all the love. You're the man.
Thanks, Phil.
And let's go Red Wings. Let's go, I guess, Connor Bedard. I don't even know if we could get him at this point, but I did sim the lottery, 25 times today. I did get Fantilli on the 25th pick. So let's go Fantilli. Come on over, buddy. Come on home.
All hail Magic Conch.
It's now a dollar store Magic Conch because it only goes up to 2 overall. But still a Magic Conch.
Those are your final thoughts?
That's it.
My final thoughts are thanks for listening and watching, Phil. Whatever streaming platform you utilize us on, whether if that's Spotify, YouTube, we are working on some others. So if you guys aren't on either of these two, well, you probably are, obviously, if you're watching and listening to us. But we'll eventually get those worked out in our favor so that way you guys have all the options to watch and listen to us wherever you are, wherever you go. So once again, thanks, Phil. Thanks for listening and joining in. Thanks for sharing us. For those of you that are returning to us, thanks for joining us once again. For those of you that are new, thanks for joining. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. That really does go a long way for us. But my final thoughts are, go Red Wings. I really hope we get a draft lottery luck. I don't even know really what to say anymore, and it's 8:30 at night.
Okay,
so
can I bring something up real quick? I'll be very quick.
Yeah, okay, hold on. My final thoughts are over, and I'm taking it back to Leslie.
I have a little bit of a grind my gears because it makes absolutely zero sense that a month after the regular season ends, when we know the standings of all 32 teams, a month after is when the lottery happens. Why is it not just the following Monday? Why does it have to take that long? You could stream it at like 5 o'clock before whatever playoff series are going on. It makes zero sense. Why do we have to wait in purgatory a month to find out what we're going to do when we inevitably pick 9th, 10th, 8th, whatever the hell we're going to pick? Why do we have to just wait for that to happen? I hate it.
You make a really good point because I was looking at the date again because I know that we said that it would be cool if we went live for the draft lottery, and I'm looking at the date and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we were all at the same location? And it's on a Monday night, too.
It's so stupid.
I agree with you. I think that's dumb that it's a month later. It literally should just be when the playoffs start, but I guess they also want to not take away from the playoffs, which it still doesn't make sense.
No reason it shouldn't.
It's dumb. The NHL never knows what they're doing. The PR team doesn't know what they're doing. And whoever's in charge doesn't know what they're doing. That's all
Gary
I
Bettman. Yeah, Gary Bettman.
It all falls on Gary Bettman, yes. So, Final thoughts are closed. Leslie, let's go ahead and sign off. So once again, I know that I already asked for those of you that are returning, thank you. And I know that I already asked for those of you that are new for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Just make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you tell all your friends and family too. We really do appreciate it. Hitting the subscribe button and hitting the like button really does go a long way. I know it's really hard for you guys sometimes, but we really do appreciate it if you do. But we also like it when you guys are talking to us in the comment section. That's just right down below there. You know, we have a lot of great ideas and fun topics to discuss once the summer does roll around. So make sure you guys stay tuned with that. We know that it's going to be a little boring because there isn't as much NHL content during the summer season. So we're going to do the best that we can, but we definitely appreciate you guys for sticking around with us and taking the time out of your day to actually look at our beautiful faces and listen to our voices. It's great. We know. Leslie, anything else you got, bud?
Give that cute little subscribe button a click, and then you see the little cutie like button next to it. Go ahead, give that a little taparoo too, and leave us a little comment. Tell us how much you love Zack's beard. Tell us how much you love my beautiful teeth. And let's go Red Wings.
And also a big shout out to Derek. We know that you're not here today, but we love you, buddy. So we'll catch you on the next episode. So yeah, get a bunch of rest. And until next time, everyone, we'll see y'all on the next recording Wednesday night. Let's go Red Wings.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.